bit more around that, but I was having a very interesting interview on one of the other Future EX I did for season 2, and we were talking around what she was terming as the colorful analytics of employee experience, and what are the data points that people are looking at. And we were saying, data for her, one of the big trends was looking at the metric of wellness. What are some of the metrics that you think that organizations should start to look at around employee experience?
Definitely wellness. I mean, so wellness is one of, I always say, there's big, broad umbrella terms, but it's more of the intimacy around wellness. When once with employee experience, once you do your personas, your profiles, and all of those things, it's more around the psychographic things than on what's important to employees. Because we say wellness, but wellness means very different things to everyone else. It might mean cycling for you. It could mean, walking and listening to the waves on the ocean for me. But it's hard. No, but it's just hard. And that's where data helps. It's the intimacy around it. It's data that exists on your employees. What are their wellness trends? And it's not data, it's data inside the organization or data that's available, obviously with content, on your employees. But then also, what solutions do you build around that? So it's around, we touched on this early on psychological safety. What does that mean for people in your organization? What is psychological safety? And how would people exhibit that and allow that to come to life? And there's an element of wellness in there, hey? Because if you look at most data articles or research that's being written, is that this form of trust or feeling psychologically secure, it's more of, there's a lot of, they say, building resilience, building grit. There's an element of psychological safety in there as well. And you need to understand, how do we create environments where lower stress levels can occur? And positive, not negative stress.
Absolutely. And then how do you measure that, like, year on year, and how do you start to track that? I think that's where a lot of companies are struggling, is that first step of like, how do I even start, and if you talk about DEI and the measurements around that, like things like, how do you measure inclusion and belonging to see that, initiatives are making a difference, and I think that's where everybody gets quite nervous, and it starts to become that single point in a single survey that is the entire basis. What are your thoughts on that?
So, well, I think there's lead indicators and there's lag indicators. So lead indicators are things like how long after an employee was with the organization did they stay within the organization. That's lag indicators. So how long do they leave? What's the point in the survey? All of these things. But then they are, and that's what we're going to have to become a lot more comfortable with bringing into the organization, or some of these other, nuanced metrics of something similar to, if I could just use an example, my team, I came back from leave and I had to meet with my team. And this meeting was in the diary, and it was we were going to discuss quite a few things around deliverables and what we had planned for the year and all of these things. And it was a cameras on meeting. And my team, when we put on cameras, my team was like, oh, MS, I'm still in PJs, and, we're still all in PJs. And I was like, that's cool. But for me, that was an indication that they could come as they are. That was an indication that even when we had a meeting set up and they knew this meeting was set up, they didn't feel the need to like brush up and do these things. And I reflected on it in that point. I said, it's comforting for me to feel that no matter where you are currently, that you could just come to the meeting, and that's okay. So some of your indicators where you're going to check for psychological safety or belonging or some of these things is when people can say that, you know what, life can be busy. My kid is going to come to me and talk to me about it, and I can feel comfortable to answer my kid on a meeting. I can say, can I mute quickly, because I'm going to answer my kid. Or if they were to mute, they don't necessarily do. And it's not to say, and we're going to need leaders. Sorry, I'm going to go back to the tangible measurement things. We're going to need leaders to equip themselves to build out those metrics within their team. And that's why I say it's the intimacy of what exactly happens in your team.
Yes.
We get that information. We then build metrics that's 100% aligned to the team functioning and the culture. And that's how we will then shift the form of diversity, equity, and inclusion.